Hello viewers and welcome to a new STM32 World video. Now this is probably going to be a fairly short video and it will answer an important question, I think. Can you overclock an STM32 microcontroller? Well, if I had been American, I should probably at this point have added a disclaimer, don't try this at home. I won't, because I think you should try this at home. It is actually quite interesting, and the results might actually surprise you. Now, I want to go back a little. Okay, I want to say first that I actually got the idea for this video when I was preparing to do another video on one of the basics videos on setting up the clock tree in STM32. I'm still going to make that video, but I just wanted to squeeze this one in before. Now, many years ago, when I was a young man, I bought my first computer, and my first computer was a PC-XT clone. It wasn't an IBM, it was a clone, but it looked exactly like this. Keyboard, box, power switch over on the back, a 5¼ inch floppy, and I think I had a 20 megabyte, not gigabyte, 20 megabyte hard drive in there as well. Now, when I bought this machine, it ran at 4.77 megahertz. Why 4.77? I read the explanation at some time, but I don't remember. But by changing a few chips on the motherboard, clock divider thingy, I actually managed to change that with the, I think it was another crystal, to run at 8 megahertz, which was almost doubling up the speed. It had an unforeseen side effect that the floppy drive no longer worked. So if you wanted to boot up on the floppy drive, you had to switch it to 4.77, and then after boot you could switch it up to 8. But anyway, it was fun, and it probably was what started my interest in computers overall. Now, STM32 MCUs have some maximum values that you can run it on. If you go in, I want to, for demonstration purpose in this video, I am going to go back to my first ADC video where I actually recorded the temperature. So I have opened this project again, and I have configured, I need the glasses for the clock tree. I have configured this STM32F405 to run at 64 megahertz. That's 8 times more than my first PC after I overclocked it. So almost 16 times as fast as my first computer. Mind-boggling. Anyway, I have compiled this, and I am running this firmware, running a lot slower than I did in the original. And if you look at the output here, why I peaked that, you can see it have the loop counter. How many times does it go around in this loop? About 8 million times in this loop. And it measures the internal temperature as 37.94, and it seems quite stable. It fluctuates a little bit here and there, but it is quite stable. Now, just to prove that this temperature is actually related to the clock frequency, I want to go into the clock here, and I want to set this back at what it was, to 168 megahertz. I will generate the code for that. And I will run that code. Now, two things should change now. The loop counter should go up, and the temperature, if I'm right, should go up. Let's see, yeah. So it went up from 8 million to 21 million almost. And the temperature, you can see, crept up by almost 3 degrees. From 38.37, 38.2 to 42.6. It seems to stabilize around there. So it is a few degrees hotter, warmer, and a lot faster. Now, the internal MCU clock, I have actually not talked much about that in these videos, and this is what I wanted to explain in a new video. So what I have on this development board is I have a 16 megahertz external frequency that get divided by 8, that's 2, multiplied by 168, and then divided by 2 to generate the PLL clock, phase lock loop clock, which is 168 megahertz, which is then divided by 168, and later you divide that down to the boss clock, is the APB1 and APB2 clocks, which is respectively 84 megahertz and 42 megahertz. So a lot of other timing is derived from these frequencies. For example, in this project, I'm using UART at 2 megabit per second, but the HAL libraries will calculate the correct settings for that based on these values. It will know the speed of the crystal, it will know the PLL configuration and the clock divisors later. So that calculation, as long as it's fast enough to derive that 2 megahertz, it will work. Now, what if I actually want to run this faster than ST is recommending? Let's see if it's at all. No, I want to go back. Now, beginners might think that this is all magic. How is this turning into the actual code that you're running in this? And there's no magic about it. What STM32 Cube MX is doing, it's generating a function, and that function is, you see, when we hit our main, we first initialize the HAL libraries and then we configure the system clock. So let's look at that system clock config, and you'll see it enables power to the clock circuitry. It set the different values of these PLL. So your PLL is on, and it is getting the source from the external crystal. It is there's divided by 8, multiplied by 168, and then divided by 2, and yada yada yada. So this whole configuration is just resulting in this code. So you could go in and change these numbers in the code, and that would, I mean, it would compile definitely, and it would most likely run. And that is essentially how you do it. You can, however, and this is what I just noticed, you can go in here and overclock it directly in STM32 CubeMX. Now, it will warn you. Let's say we are running this at 168 over here, multiplier, which results in 168. So logic would dictate that if I put this up to, let's do 200. Oh, that was not 200. That was 200. It will result, it says 200 over here, 200 there, and these bosses are now getting way too fast. This is supposed to be 84 megahertz max, and is now 100 megahertz. Over there you have a 200 megahertz timer clock over here. But can you actually generate, you get a warning here, but can you generate the code? Let's try to generate the code and save this setting, and it will come up with a warning. Now, what I've seen this a couple of times, and I always say, no, I don't want to generate the code. But what happens if you actually say, yes, there's just a warning? Let's do it anyway. And it seems to have done that. Let's look at the main C, and let's look at the system clock config. And yes, you have the 200 there. All the other values are the same. So in theory, this should actually, let's see if it compiles. And it does. So let's go back to the terminal and say, well, it's getting warmer. That's probably because my office is getting warmer. It's quite early in the morning, so the temperature is rising rapidly around now. So let's try to flash this. So keep in mind 21 million here and 43 at the moment over there. And go back and see. There we go. So it went from 21 million to 25 million. So almost 4 million extra of these cycles. And the temperature is rapidly rising now, 44.4, 44.7. Can we go even higher? I think I managed to get this up to, I did try this before, I wouldn't start this video and not knowing. I think I can go up to 240. Let's try that. Generate code. Yes, I want to generate the code. Main. And let's try to run it. Yeah. It's still running. Now it's running almost 3 million. So from 21 million up to 3 million of these loop counts. It is quite significant, and you will see the temperature creeping up. Now, I have not found, and I have not bothered to find the exact maximum. I'll leave that to an exercise. Please comment down below where the limit is. I think I went up to 280, and that didn't work. So there is a maximum limit, and I think it's about the 240 where I have it now, which is so it's running at, rather than 168 megahertz, is now running at 240 megahertz, and it seems to be running fine. Now, should you do this in a production? No, of course you should not. But as a hobbyist, it's fun to play with stuff like this, and it's a learning experience. So I, by all means, try it out. But I find it very hard to see any sort of commercial interest in doing something like this. Maybe if you screwed up the promises to your boss, at some point, say, "Oh, you promised it could run this fast, but you only run this fast." Oh, okay, turn it up a bit for him, just for. No, I'm not recommending something like that. Of course, I'm not. But I don't think there's any commercial interest or use in this. It's almost now running at 47. I can't help myself. Can I do 250? 250. Generate code. Yes, I want to generate the code. And I want to run this. Still running. How is it 21 million? So it went from 21 up to 31, so almost a third on top, which is quite interesting, and the temperature is still creeping up. Now, it will hit, let's try that as well. So let's try to go 280. Can I do 280? 270, let's try 270. Project, generate code. Yes. And there we go. It didn't start at 270. So 270, something went wrong. Don't know what it is. Let's go down to is 260 possible? Generate code. And let's try to run that. That works. So 260 megahertz on a 168 megahertz processor is possible. Now, I'm actually quite sure, but I can't be bothered, that you could run it even faster. If you imagine you went this up to maybe 300, but started dividing these p-scalars down further, it's probably the bus that is the limiting factor. At some point, this one craps out. So it might be possible to switch this from 4 to 8 and then push the core clock faster. It's entirely possible that it could run. I'm not going to bother with this. Anyway, that's all I wanted to do in this video. Please, I'll put my disclaimer in here. Please do try this at home. You really should. It's a good learning experience, but don't do this in any production product that you ever do or pass to others. It's a poor way of saving money. So buy a faster processor if you need a faster processor. That's about it. So, as usual, please like and subscribe. If you don't like, please comment down below, and please well, have a wonderful rest of the day.